the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Sunday Night Football, not really much of a matchup here. And the Bills looked so good up until this point. And, you know, to me, it's probably like a one-off for them.
The basic thing you have to do against the Ravens, force them to pass and try to use their weapons downfield, get them behind. Because if you can do that, then it takes Derrick Henry a little bit out of the game. But if you get them with momentum coming out of the gate, getting a long touchdown run to the first play.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Yes, time to rise and grind here on the Early Line Series, XM Channel 159 on the Sports Grid Network. I can't wait to get it started. So many hot topics to get to. Major League Baseball playoffs underway. As we sit here on a hump day Wednesday, we're going to get some previews here of some NFL action this weekend, as well as college football. I love it. Pumpkins are out there. Halloween's on the horizon. Pumpkin spice flavored coffee reigning supreme here. And Dubbs Anderson is going to join me, Donnie Wrights, out of the next 3 hours to have a lot of fun and bring all of those hot topics to you. Dubbsy, how are we feeling on this Wednesday?
I'm doing good, my brother. First betting week of October, and it almost means it's time to get out the old onesie. But, you know, outside of my sauna time, outside of my golf time, this is next in line, Donnie. Absolutely love a bit of hump day magic, and why wouldn't we, everything we have, shape it up in the sports world?
It's an absolute sprint. Let's get to the 7 and 7, the hottest topics across the sports landscape. And where do we lead? Of course, it's with Major League Baseball. 4 playoff games yesterday, 4 playoff games today. And we call it a sprint. Why? It's a 5 games. It's a best of 3 in the wild card round, which means teams probably are going home today, Dubbsy, unless they can stave off elimination. Let's get to the games yesterday. And this is the reason why I told everybody who would listen. The team I don't want to face in a short series is Tariq Skubal of the Detroit Tigers. Why? Because yesterday he was sensational. 6 innings pitched, 4 hits allowed, 0 earned runs, 6 strikeouts. The Detroit Tigers get a 3-1 win over the Houston Astros. What it means to have a dominant ace in your lineup? Yes, told the story yesterday. Skubal, he was fantastic, Dubbsy.
And we're going to have plus money, Donnie. I had your voice ringing between the ears there, but it was an absolute masterclass in terms of the 6 strikeouts, 6 scoreless there, the Triple Crown winner just allowing 4 singles. So impressive. And this is the guy that you want leading into October. We saw that in full force. The Tigers get the score going on the road 3-1. We thought it was going to be a bit of an arm wrestle. Tariq Skubal absolutely steps up in a really big spot and showed us why he is certainly one of the best aces in the majors right now.
Could have been worse yesterday, too. You take a look at those runners in scoring position, Dubbsy. 3 of 13 for Detroit. Even though they scored 3 runs, probably should have had 5 or 6 on the board if they got any clutch hits here. But also, as we love playoff baseball with teams that aren't necessarily used to being in the playoffs, like the Tigers, where Houston, it feels like, gets there every single year. We had some drama in the 9th inning, but the Tigers were able to hold on with that 3-1 victory and look to close out the Houston Astros today. We'll see if that happens. A lot of previews later. Let's get to some other games. Orioles, 1-0 loss yesterday to Kansas City. And this is what we get in playoff baseball, Dubsy. Great pitching performances. And by the way, you got them on both sides here. Reagan, 6 innings pitched, 4 hits, 0 earned runs, 8 strikeouts, and no walks for Kansas City. And you say to yourself, well, what did Corbin Burns do, the ace that they acquired from Milwaukee last offseason? He was spectacular as well. 8 innings pitched, 5 hits, only 1 earned run. Baltimore couldn't muster any offense. Kansas City goes in to Oriole Park at Camden Yards and comes away with the victory yesterday.
Yeah, you highlighted the 2 standout performers there. Bobby Witt Jr. and Cole Reagans lead the way for the Royals on a somewhat gloomy afternoon out there at Camden Yards. It wasn't enough to get that ballpark absolutely rocking in front of 41,000. It looks more like an English Premier League score once it was all said and done. But big win there for Kansas City. We know they got that firepower. Another tough team going on the road, showing plenty of promise there. 1-0, bring on game 2.
And who do we think was going to step up to the plate and say, you know what, I had a great season. Let me continue that in the postseason. Bobby Witt Jr. goes 1 for 1 there with runners in scoring position, playing the only run of the day. And as we said, missed opportunities. You look at the Orioles runners in scoring position, only 1 of 7. You say, hey, they got 1 run. That base hit with a runner in scoring position didn't even equate to a run. Great pitching performance out of Kansas City. Let's go out to the West Coast last night because we saw a team in the San Diego Padres, probably in the best scenario, rested and ready versus a team playing in a doubleheader, flying East Coast out the West Coast, and looked like the Braves never got off the tarmac here. A 4-0 victory for the San Diego Padres. But when we talk about unbelievable pitching performances, it's going to start with Michael King. Playoff debut, 7 innings pitched, 5 hits, no earned runs, 12 strikeouts, no walks. You want to talk about a young kid trying to step into that ace role? He was fantastic yesterday, Dubs.
It was absolutely sensational. First player there, first career postseason start to fan 12. He was in command from the jump. He was nasty with that stuff out there on the bump. But I tell you what, Tatis put on a show down there in San Diego at Petco. Absolutely smacked one, Donnie, up there to the second deck of Petco and got the crowd rocking and rolling, close to 50,000 in absolute frenzy. And I tell you what, San Diego, they've been playing some really strong baseball over the last month. The momentum, the hot hand, it looked to be in full force. And well done for Michael King. Stepping up in a big spot like this, he absolutely proved his worth.
It's funny, too, as you take a look because, runners in scoring position, that's usually what you try to line up. But yesterday, it was just Mr. King on the mound in an absolutely filthy performance as they try to shut down the Braves. Let's keep moving here in the National League. The wild card race here heating up once again. Why? Because those New York Mets said, you know what, Atlanta, you might be a little bit sluggish. We're not here. They were down 2-0, Dubsy, after the first inning and come away with an 8-4 victory over the Milwaukee Brewers. Lining up the pitching matchup in this game, Severino, 6 innings pitched, 3 earned runs, giving up 4 runs overall. That should be good enough for a Brewers win. But why? Freddie Peralta was hit around. Payamps was hit around. This Mets lineup just continues to hit. Runners in scoring position, Dubsy, how about 5 of 7? Take advantage of the situation. The Mets did that once again.
And the Mets are going to be the team if you're looking to jump in on the live betting because they are never out of any game given that potent lineup. We saw the offense on full display again. And for the poor old Milwaukee Brewers, they've now lost 10 of their last 11 playoff games. There's something about October just working against them. But the Mets, they found that spark and looked to carry it into game 2. But that was an impressive display. 8-4 getting it done on the road.
We're going to take a look at those 4 playoff games once again today. I love the sprint. I love afternoon baseball. I love when teams are up against it and have to win. Those kitchen sink games, they're coming already today. But let's flip it over to the NFL. Hot topics all the way around, which includes the Las Vegas Raiders. Davante Adams now saying officially, you know what? It might be time for a change. Let's also rewind just a few short years ago. Josh McDaniels was your head coach. Your quarterback was Derek Carr. You had Brandon Jacobs in the backfield. You acquired Davante Adams. The future looks bright for the Raiders, and now it looks like none of that trio is going to be around within, 2 to 3 weeks' time. Davante Adams looking to leave the Raiders, and they're saying, you know what? We're going to make some phone calls on that.
It feels like when you go the boys' trip to Sin City and you've got the third night booked, be saying, no, I've been beat up. I've had enough. I'm going home after day 2. For Davante Adams, still 31 years of age, dealing with that niggling hamstring injury. There's a lot of good suitors out there. Kansas City Chiefs, maybe the Jets at an affordable price tag as well. Still got one of the highest ceilings in the game, but never good when you've got the head coach starting to like tweets out there on the social media saying, can't wait for him to move on. It's never going to work out from there, Donnie.
Yeah, we'll see where he goes. We'll have some segments later today with some of those best fits where he can go. Also, if we keep it in the NFL, the Buffalo Bills having a good start to the season, did get run over a bit Sunday Night Football, but now losing Von Miller for at least the next 4 games here on a suspension. He's got 3 sacks on the season. This is going to hurt Buffalo.
Yeah, Von Miller, 35 years of age, had a lackluster season last out. Indiscretion from the back end of 2023 has come up there. So to miss 4 games, never good for the Bills, who were caught napping there on Sunday night. So for Von Miller, one of the stalwarts, we'll see him in I guess 3 to 4 weeks. I guess that's the number there, Donnie. So not good for a Bills fan, not good for Von Miller, but it is what it is.
It is what it is, and that's the way it always is going to be. The WNBA also, Dubsy, in the playoffs. We had 2 games last night. We see the Liberty take a commanding 2-0 series lead against the Aces with an 88-84 victory, which saw Sabrina Ionescu with 24 points, Asia Wilson with 24 points in the loss. How about that game, Dubsy? Handle home court advantage. The Liberty are doing that.
Liberty looking good on a Tuesday night, Donnie. Now the defending champs, the 2-time champs, are up against it, down 0-2, best-of-5 series. So for the Aces, they get things going again on Friday. They're looking for a bounce back. They're also now looking at going against history. So the Liberty looked good. It was the Lynx rolling the Sun, 77-70 in the other semifinal game there as well.
As we like to say, Dubsy, even and leaving for the Lynx here as they go on the road to take on the Sun. Playoff atmosphere all the way around. Major League Baseball, WNBA, teams hoping to make the playoffs in the NFL because you can't go with your 1-3s to 1-4s and 0-4s out there. Unbelievable aspects here. Stay tuned. Why? Major League Baseball. Let's examine what happened yesterday. Come on right back with us.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. I am ready. I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all long, people.
What in the world is going on in Miami, Dom?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take, hot take.
I think this line is asking you once again to take New Orleans.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Simply put, the only way to bet this is over under win total. I love Tyronn Lue. I think he's one of the 5 best coaches in the league. But my dear friend George Sorless told us to me a long time ago, you can't win if you don't got the talent. Unfortunately, I don't think the Clippers have the talent to match up.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the book.
Would it make you feel better as a bettor or as a sports fan if they said after the game we were trying to cover the script?
Oh, God. To say it out loud? Oh, my God, no.
So what,
to say it out loud? Oh, my God. You can't say that out loud. No, you can't do that.
Okay, so what is the big deal either way?
Oh, play the game the right way.
The Bostonian versus the book.
Sunday Night Football, not really much of a matchup here. And the Bills looked so good up until this point. And, to me, it's probably like a one-off for them.
The basic thing you have to do against the Ravens, force them to pass and try to use their weapons downfield, get them behind. Because if you can do that, then it takes Derrick Henry a little bit out of the game. But if you get them with momentum coming out of the gate, getting a long touchdown run to the first play.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Playoff baseball, hour number 1 in full effect right on the early line, Sirius XM channel 159. It's Donnie Rightside, it's Dubbs Anderson. Let's get out to the business, Dubbs, because I love Major League Baseball. And you know what I love even more is October Major League Baseball, because it means we're in the playoffs. Let's take a look first at that San Diego Padres Atlanta Braves game and how we got here. The doubleheader that was played on Monday to determine which 2 of 3 teams were going to make it into the National League playoffs. It looked like a foregone conclusion. You were going to have a split in that doubleheader, which we got, which meant the Atlanta Braves off to the playoffs. The New York Mets off to the playoffs. But a key indicator in that game Monday was Chris Sale getting back spasms for the Atlanta Braves, and now they wouldn't be able to use him here moving forward in the playoffs, at least in the wild card round. He's not on the roster. So now the Braves, after expending all that energy in a must-win game number 2, basically went with a bullpen, and it didn't go well at all, to say the least. Smith-Shawver comes in, 1 1/3 innings pitched, Dubsy, 4 hits, 3 earned runs, and right away you were behind the 8 ball because Michael King was spectacular on the mound yesterday. The game ends 4-0. King is absolutely dominant. The Braves are up against the Dubs, and they don't even have their ace. Now, Max Fried, we'll handicap this a little bit later in the show, is a quality pitcher. But, boy, not having Sale, and you're already down 0-1, that's a devastating blow to the Braves.
Playing catch-up from the jump, and you're going against a team that's well-rested, playing some really good baseball in their park down there at Petco. So I guess this result a little expected on Tuesday afternoon, 4-0, but it throws everything out, Donnie. And I guess that's going to be the beauty of handicapping going through October, knowing what resources are on deck, if you will, the starting arms, who can step up and get it done. And when you have to miss a day like that, it suddenly throws out the whole rotation. So not good on that side of things for the Braves, but it's turned into a must-win spot. So they need to find something ahead of Game 2. But for all Chris Sale, I'll tell you what, they needed that split there on Monday, so you can't really be mad at that decision, but it's now come back to bite them.
Yeah, win or go home at this point, and that's always going to be a tough indicator. It's a now kitchen sink game once again, just like you saw on Monday. Let's reshape the series here and what the situations are. Wild card series odds as they stand right now. The Padres to win it, minus 450. Why? They only need one more win out of the next 2 games. You take a look at the Braves, a plus 350 price. Can they get back into the series? And also keep in mind, the wild card rounds, we don't change, Dubs. It's not like, hey, first 2 games in San Diego, then we go back to Atlanta. The wild card teams have that series in their own building, so sometimes it feels like it's insurmountable. And if you do think that San Diego will win today, minus 1.5 on the series price at a minus 118 here. Which way would you be looking? Do you think the Braves can make a comeback, or is it a formality? You didn't get game number 1. You don't have your ace on the mound. And here we go in game number 2. It looks like a possible closeout situation that might become a reality.
Yeah, I think it is. Fried's certainly going to give him a good chance out there. But the Padres are just playing far too good at baseball. Minus 118. I'll be playing the exact series score there to finish this one off on Tuesday afternoon, 2-0. And for Chris Sale, has had those lingering health issues there as well with the back. So, yeah, for me, it's all about the Padres. They got off to a fast start. It's really tough in trying to get the offense going, so it's probably going to be another, low scorer, 3-2, 3-1 kind of affair, and I would support the starting arm for San Diego. So I think it's doom and gloom for the ATL, Donnie.
Yep, we'll handicap these games a little bit later, but let's get to the other National League game. Was the New York Mets and the Milwaukee Brewers, Dubs. The 8-4 final. The New York Mets are the winners here. You might have thought it was a runaway game, and that's not how it played out. You saw Milwaukee strike twice in the bottom of the first inning, only for the Mets to take a 3-2 lead by the end of the second inning. Then you saw 2 more runs from Milwaukee, but then the Mets counter once again with 5 runs in the top of the 5th inning. You take a look at some of the big bats in that lineup. Mark Vientos, who I thought would get an RBI yesterday, he added 2 RBI yesterday. Jesse Winker, an acquired player at about, midway around that trade deadline. He picks up 2 RBI, and also J.D. Martinez, pinch hitting, picks up 2 RBI for himself. The Mets love to give their fans heart attacks, but boy, do they love coming back.
Mets with all of that momentum, very similar to what we saw in Game 1 of the doubleheader there on Monday, getting that score 8-4 over the Brewers, highlighted top of the show for poor old Milwaukee. Something about playing baseball in October. It just hasn't worked in their favor thus far. They've now lost 10 of their last 11 postseason games. Mark Vientos, he was the standout for me, carrying New York and the Mets, so they're going to have to see a bit more of that. But right now, Donnie, they're off the plane. They can see Philly in the future. They're feeling it. They're vibing. It's nothing but good juju. So I'd back the Mets here again. It's a tough spot. Game 2 on the road, but they showed plenty of confidence with the offense there yesterday.
Yeah, I think they're in trouble today, too, because you got Frankie Montas, which is going to take the mound. And also, it used to be in the past, where are all those really good pitchers for the Milwaukee Brewers at the top of the rotation? Seemingly don't have them this year. Had a very good season, winning their division, but in a wild card round, You lose 2 games, you're out already. They're down 1 game here, and it's not like you have an ace on the mound that's going to be able to carry you through. So if we reset these series prices and take a look at those, how about this? The Brewers now to advance a plus 260 price. The Mets a minus 320 price to advance, and as you said, head on to Philadelphia. If you're looking at the series spread, the New York Mets at minus 1.5 games at a minus 110 price. If we're looking at this, these are the teams that we worry about, Dubbs, right? Playing their best baseball late in the season and overcoming adversity, and that's the New York Metropolitans. We'll see if that continues today, but looking at some of these series prices, are you maybe taking a chunk out of the Brewers at plus 260, or is it a formality? The Mets are already going to be on their way to Philadelphia.
No, not so fast. And I guess the style that the Mets have been playing, they'll have Manaea out there on the bump, a little erratic, a little volatile. So I think this is a series that certainly looks to be going 3 games. I think the Brewers can get the square up here this afternoon and force that game 3. Obviously, Frankie Montas is going to have to be in control of his stuff and show us a couple of quality innings, stick out there for 4 to 5. But I think the Brewers are still live in this one in their ballpark. Game 2 coming up for the Mets. Can they continue to rally late off the back of some hot bats? It's a tough style to have, but they look to be getting it done so far. But I do think the Brewers could be getting ready for a big performance here for Wednesday afternoon.
If I gave you one bet, Dubbs, and I said to you, which one of these teams is going to be able to stave off elimination? Would it be the Milwaukee Brewers at home, or would it be the Atlanta Braves on the road for you today?
I was going to say the Astros, just having that glass to prevail, but I'll say the Brewers, Donnie. I'll say the Brewers against the Mets. The Brewers get game 2. They'll show up better stuff. The Mets bats, maybe they're not as hot as what we saw on Monday, on Tuesday. Maybe a little regression to the mean.
Yeah, take a look also at that game between Atlanta and San Diego tonight. A lot of outlets, including the FanDuel Sportsbook, with a 6.5 total. That's playoff baseball, baby. None of those 9.5, 10.5, and 11.5 that you might get at Coors. More Major League Baseball talk next. Keep the dial right here on Sirius XM Channel 159.
Want to know who to draft and who to avoid in fantasy football? Or want to know who to place NFL season future bets on? Get an insider edge from the former NFL team doctors at Sports Injury Central. The 2024 NFL Preseason Injury Guide is the only in-depth injury report analyzing all 32 teams and over 150 players. So go to sixscore.com to get the most accurate NFL preseason injury report. That's sixscore.com.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. Ready. I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all long, people. What in the world is going on in Miami, Dom?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take.
I think this line is asking you once again to take the wounds.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern.
All right back at it here. Major League Baseball, Dubbs Anderson and Donnie Wrightside here talking Major League Baseball playoff action. And it doesn't slow down. Like, hey, there's always tomorrow. Dubbsy, if a couple of these teams lose today, there is no tomorrow. That season is going to end. Other teams will pop champagne and fly out to the new cities. The game we're going to take a look at right now, the Tigers. 3, the Astros 1. You want to talk about two of the best pitchers in Major League Baseball, let alone the American League? You got that on the bump yesterday. It was Tarek Skubal of the Detroit Tigers. It was Framber Valdez of the Houston Astros. An unbelievable atmosphere. And you know who was better? It was Tarek Skubal. He's the best pitcher in Major League Baseball. An absolutely filthy, dominant left-handed pitcher. Goes 6 innings, 4 earned runs. 6 innings, 4 hits, no earned runs, and 6 strikeouts yesterday. An absolutely dominating performance, which this is the reason why, Dubs, I keep saying, I didn't want to face the Tigers in a short series because I knew Tarek Skubal would be bringing the heat. Dubsy, he did that yesterday.
And what more can you want from your starting pitcher there, Donnie? You highlighted some of the numbers out of the box score. Absolutely shining bright for the Tuesday afternoon. Complete control, complete command. It was a low score. The Tigers put up 3 there in the second and never looked back. The Astros have certainly got the class. They've got the pedigree. They've got that postseason experience. And that's the way the odds makers were trying to tell us this game would go up. But what a postseason start this was for Skubal and for the Tigers. They're going to be a very tough out moving forward. There could be a couple of interesting tactics with Game 2 coming up this afternoon. Must win. It looks like they may be throwing the old kitchen sink, the bullpen at Houston. But Houston aren't going to go out without a fight. But Tarek Skubal, he's been impressive all season long there, Donnie, and he continued to live up to the billion. That's why he's the Triple Crown winner and likely going to be that Cy Young Award winner as well.
Yeah, he's absolutely tremendous. And by the way, you do have a pitching mismatch, at least what we think here on the mound for the Houston Astros today. They're close to a minus 180 favorite. We'll break that down in just a little bit. But just looking at that game yesterday, the high leverage situation, Dubs, as we talked about, how good Tarek Skubal was, and yet we found ourselves in the bottom of the 9th inning, 2 runners on, a runner on third base, a runner on second base, and 1 out, and the Astros weren't able to get that big hit to tie the game up. So credit that bullpen for hanging on at the end for the Detroit Tigers. If we reassess this series, how about this? The Astros, coming into the series as a favorite, now sit at a plus 148 number. The Detroit Tigers, a minus 174 number in this. And also a spread. If you think Houston can at least get 1 game, you would cash that ticket if they win today, plus 1.5 at a minus 174 price. So looking at this series now, I don't know. Look, the Astros got the heart of a champion. There's no doubt about it. They've been there, done that before, and faced a lot of adversity. But this is a short series. They got to win now 2 in a row, Dubs. We're thinking they can do that.
I think they're certainly going to be live. You know, if they've got the clubhouse to rally out of all the wild card teams, it's going to be the Astros. And I guess the standout there was, you know, it's the 8th consecutive season making it through to the postseason. Hats off. That's fantastic, especially with a lot of new young faces and new places coming in for this season. They was in search of a 10th consecutive first postseason game up win. Didn't get that yesterday. So for the Tigers, I felt like absolutely achieved their very best there. Game 1, probably not an easy thing going into the Astros building to get that score. But if any team can rally, getting a good pitching matchup here this afternoon, it's going to be Houston. I think they're absolutely still live in this thing.
Love it, Dubs. It's not like we have to wait 2 to 3 days to watch this play out. They are playing once again today. We'll know if they are going to extend the series, and we'll handicap that game a little bit later. Let's go over to the Kansas City Royals and the Baltimore Orioles. Maybe a shocker to some. The Royals not playing their best baseball in the month of September, Dubs. He's sort of hanging on to get that final wild card spot. They go into Baltimore and win this game 1-0. Why? In the top of the 6th inning, Bobby Witt Jr. singles in a run, and away the Royals go. Reagan's was fantastic. Burns was fantastic. Kansas City, just a little bit better here, Dubsy.
Yeah, and, you know, you highlighted most exciting guy in baseball, Bobby Witt Jr. He showed us why we're expecting a big performance, gets it done again. It wasn't high-octane, high-scoring, 1-0, but these are the kind of games you want to see in October, Donnie. A real arm wrestle, a real rock fight with the big names showing up, starting out. And that's what we got from Cole Reagans and Bobby Witt. So for Kansas City, the Royals, 1-0. They're trying to find their best baseball going in to the Orioles ballpark. Never an easy thing, considering they were pretty strong there throughout the season. So for Cole Reagans to fan, 8 out there in Game 1, that was an impressive performance. They're going to need more of that for Game 2 if they're going to try and take this series.
No, it certainly are. And also, again, it is a sprint in the playoffs, especially in the wild card round, Dubs. The best of three here. You take a look at some of those series prices. The Orioles at a plus 176 number. They got to win 2 in a row. The Royals, a commanding lead in the series 1-0, which in 7 games or 5 games wouldn't be so commanding. But in 3, extra important. So you look at that Baltimore spread plus 1.5 at a minus 156 price. They got to get off the mat today. Baltimore, if you want to extend this great season, you better win today. Let's reassess the American League and the National League and who can actually win that World Series. We'll be right back to the early line on the SportsGrid Network.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in the set than I do for this year. I'm ready. I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all long, people. What in the world is going on in Miami, Dom?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take, hot take.
I think this line is asking you once again to take New Orleans.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Simply put, the only way to bet this is over under win total. I love Tyronn Lue. I think he's one of the 5 best coaches in the league. But my dear friend George Sorless told us to me a long time ago, you can't win if you don't got the talent. Unfortunately, I don't think the Clippers have the talent to match up.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the book.
Would it make you feel better as a bettor or as a sports fan if they said after the game we were trying to cover the spread?
Oh, God. To say it out loud? Oh, my God, no.
So what,
to say it out loud? Oh, my God. You can't say that out loud. No, you can't do that.
Okay, so what is the big deal either way?
Oh, play the game the right way.
The Bostonian versus the book.
Sunday Night Football, not really much of a matchup here. And the Bills looked so good up until this point. And, to me, it's probably like a one-off for them.
The basic thing you have to do against the Ravens, force them to pass and try to use their weapons downfield, get them behind. Because if you can do that, then it takes Derrick Henry a little bit out of the game. But if you get them with momentum coming out of the gate, getting a long touchdown run to the first play.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Let's reassess in the playoffs. Donnie and Dubbs, how can you reassess? There's only been one day. Well, things are going to move quickly. Teams are going to be bounced out of the playoffs today. Maybe all 4 teams here, should I say, all those 4 series continue into the next day, which I would love. But let me ask you this question, Dubbsy. Here's what's fantastic. Like, you play an entire season. Last week of March, April, May, June, July, August, and September, just to get to this moment. And it can be over, Dubbsy, in a matter of 48 hours for your team. It's a cold reality. But as a fan just sitting back, don't we love this stuff? It's awesome, man.
It really is, Donnie. It gives that juice of like a Super Bowl. You know what is on the line. You know what's at stake. You know, for all of these players, especially the young guys filling it for the first time, that they're also dealing with the same thing. And on the handicapping side, we got to factor that in. You know, the situational trends, the situational awareness, who's going on the road, who's making their postseason debut, who's the starting arm who really hasn't been in this spot prior, because everything changes and it just goes up a couple of pegs. But I love to see it. I thought Monday was fantastic, Donnie, with the doubleheader, just to see who was going to be going in to the postseason between the Mets and the Braves and the Diamondbacks, obviously 3 becoming 2. So I think it's really exciting. It's fantastic betting as well. And the march through October continues. You've got to find that spark, that momentum, and try and carry this thing the whole way. And I feel like this year, you know, there's a bit more parity than what we've seen in the past.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the bookmakers are telling us it's Dodgers, Yankees, but I don't think they even agreed that it's just a 2-horse race. I think this one is absolutely wide open.
Dubbs, I always like to say, like in the sports landscape, you just make me commissioner, it's going to work out better for the fans. You know what I love about this? Because maybe in past, seasons and NBA playoffs and football, whatever you want to call it, we had a game yesterday, a couple games in the afternoon. Let's flip it over to today. 2:32, 4:38, 7:38, and 8:38. You know I love, Dubsy, and I know you're a West Coast guy, and it probably doesn't matter, but us East Coasters, I love the late game tonight is 8:38, not 10:30, not 9:45. You can watch this entire day and enjoy it on the East Coast, and that's what I'm most thankful for. So making me commissioner, maybe I'm already commissioner of baseball because apparently they have been listening, Dubsy, on the back end. But let's take a look at the NL pennant odds as they stand now after yesterday, and we got a lot of line movement, not necessarily from the favorites. The Dodgers and the Phillies are waiting on their opponents. The Dodgers to win the NL pennant, plus 160 price. The Phillies at a plus 195. But I'll tell you, 24 hours ago, the Brewers were not a 23-1 price to win the NL pennant. Oh, my goodness. Why did that change? Why? Because if they lose today, their playoffs are over. Other wild card scenarios here. You take a look at the Padres now. Sit at a 4-1 price. Why? Because they beat the Braves. The Braves now sit at a 21-1 price, and the Mets at an 8-1 price. A volatile, wild swing in the National League just from yesterday's games, Dubsy.
Yeah, and understandably so. For the Brewers, the Mets, winner's going to advance, take on the Phillies, who've arguably been the best team in baseball with the most complete roster, on both sides. Braves, Padres. The Padres have been playing some really good baseball, and they've got to like their chances if they can get Game 2 and win this series against Atlanta, advance up to Dodger Stadium, Chavez Ravine, where they've had a lot of success, notably in the last 2 to 3 weeks there. So the Padres on that side of the board makes a lot of sense. At plus 400, still not a bad price. And you're banking on a team that can not just advance out of the wild card series, but who absolutely has the weapons to make a bit of a tilt for the next 2-3 weeks. And I think the San Diego Padres, they've been the standout. They showed us again there yesterday. I think they look really good ahead of Game 2 here as well. So interesting with that market movement. It could be the time to buy if you're feeling it the same for me as the big threat could be coming out of San Diego.
By the way, Dubsy, if we are looking ahead, and I know, look, we love to get ahead of ourselves. We love to get the excitement going. And I do feel bad for Brewers fans if they do get bounced today, understandably. And I do feel bad for the Atlanta fans if they get bounced. No more baseball for them. But can you imagine this second-round matchup that we could have here, the Philadelphia Phillies and the New York Mets in the NLDS on one side, and then on the other side, you'd have the Padres and the Dodgers. You want to talk East Coast, West Coast here, and you want ratings? Boy, you are going to get that if that does happen. But let's flip it over, Dubsy, and take a look at the AL pennant odds, which, again, nothing really changing here at the top of the standings because the Yankees and the Guardians haven't played yet. Plus 120 price on the Yankees, Guardians at a plus 380. But we talked about the Brewers at a 23-1 price here, sitting as that third seed. How about this third seed? The Houston Astros, only a 7-1 price. We're thinking they have a legitimate chance to come back in this series. The other wild card numbers, the Orioles lost. They dropped to a 10-1. The Royals won. They're now a 7-1. The Tigers now also at a 7-1 price, the same as the Houston Astros. How about these volatile swings in the market for you, Dubsy?
Yeah, I guess the big movement, and I think there's certainly now value behind the Houston Astros. Just having that championship pedigree, they've always got that X factor going into October. They just seem to find their best baseball. They ran into a buzzsaw yesterday. No team was going to go against Skubal and have that result go in any other direction. He was an absolute beast out there. Fantastic. You just got to chalk that one off as a bad beat for Houston. Back in their ballpark for this afternoon, Game 3, obviously all three games being in their ballpark. They got a really good chance to right the ship. So at plus 700, now getting a slightly better number. This could be the buy low spot. Obviously, if they do pick up Game 2, you're going to lose all value behind the Stros. And for Kansas City and Baltimore, still hovering. We've got the Orioles there at 10-1. The Royals at plus 700. So obviously the odds makers expecting a bit of a bounce back from Baltimore as well, Donnie.
How about that? The 5 and the 6 is trying to upset. And again, in Major League Baseball, you probably didn't think that was going to be the case. And who knows who the Yankees and the Guardians are cheering on. I guess you could probably say hopefully Houston gets bounced out because, as Dubs and I keep bringing up, they do have that playoff pedigree, World Series championships. You might not want to face them in round number 2. But good on the youngsters, as we like to say in Detroit and Kansas City, to sort of reassess that market and try to make a run. If we're taking a look at those World Series odds, Dubsy, The Dodgers still sit at that plus 350 price. Again, haven't played yet here. They're going to wait till the next round. Same thing with the New York Yankees and the Philadelphia Phillies. The Yankees sit at a plus 360 price and the Philadelphia Phillies at a plus 420. But again, those odds are changing here for the teams that are already winning games in the wild card round. As you see, the Padres at an 8-1 price now jumping the Guardians, who sit at 10-1. The Astros falling back to 13-1. And here come the hard-charging Mets at 15-1. How are we feeling about the positioning here of the World Series odds at the FanDuel Sportsbook?
I think it's pretty spot on, and it's reflective of what we've seen all season long. The Dodgers up top, shortest price, followed by the Pinstripes. I still can't believe the Phillies are sitting there as the third choice. I really do think they're going to be the team to beat. And if you're looking at the Dodgers, I just don't see that number, Donnie. You know, a lot of inconsistencies, which is why I think the Padres are live going into the next series if they can get through the wild card. So for me, that's the number I'd be looking at in terms of the futures there for the World Series. If you think the Dodgers are a little vulnerable like myself, I think the Padres is probably the price play. You just don't know what you're going to get from Dave Roberts in LA. I think the starting arms are a little spotty. You know, Yamamoto has looked good since coming back, but still concerns. Is it going to be Jack Flaherty? Is it going to be Ohtani maybe getting a couple of reps in out there on the hill? So for me, it'd be the Padres as the price play, plus 800. Get it done out there this afternoon. Advance, square off with the Dodgers up here in LA. What a series that would be. And maybe they can carry that momentum we've seen from the likes of Manny Machado. Tatis absolutely sending them yard at a high rate. So that's what I take away from that updated World Series market, Donnie.
I love the Padres. I really do. I thought the price point coming into the playoffs was right because they have the dominant bullpen, the good starting pitching, the talented 1 through 9. And also, you're right. When you look at the Dodgers, nobody's going to argue the talent on the Dodgers roster. 1 through 9, they can hit with the best of them and might be the most talented team overall because why? You got Mookie Betts and Shohei Ohtani as a 1-2 punch, batting 1-2 in that lineup. It doesn't get any better than that. Maybe even in Major League Baseball history, how talented both of those guys are. But the pitching matchups here are what decides the playoffs, and it'll be fun, certainly, to watch a playoff. Let me ask you a question. The bottom of the barrel right now is the Orioles at a 21-1 price. They're talented. They had a solid season, sort of fell off a little bit in September. Is there a buy-in point that you look and say, you know what, a couple dollars on the Orioles? They win today, turn it into a game number 3, advance. You'd be looking at a 21-1 price here on the Orioles to win the World Series. Any bites on that for you, Dubbsy?
Yeah, I don't mind that number, Donnie. It's just going to come down to the offense. The bats have been a little spotty. They started so fast. They lost it. They've got the arms there, you know, Burns, Eflin, Kramer. So could be the buy low spot for Baltimore, but they have to be a bit more consistent. The arms have to absolutely fire with Bingham.
Dubbsy, we will find out today. But you know what? The NFL Hot Topics are up next. Devontae Adams, he wants out. Where's he going?
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. Ready? I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all long, people. What in the world is going on in Miami, Dom?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take.
I think this line is asking you once again to take New Orleans.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Simply put, the only way to bet this is over-under win total. I love Tyronn Lue. I think he's one of the 5 best coaches in the league. But my dear friend George Sorless told us to me a long time ago, you can't win if you don't got the talent. Unfortunately, I don't think the Clippers have the talent to match up.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the book.
Would it make you feel better as a bettor or as a sports fan if they said after the game we were trying to cover the spread?
Oh, God. To say it out loud? Oh, my God, no.
So what,
to say it out loud? Oh, my God. You can't say that out loud. No, you can't do that.
Okay, so what is the big deal either way?
Oh, play the game the right way.
The Bostonian versus the book.
Sunday Night Football, not really much of a matchup here. And the Bills looked so good up until this point. And, to me, it's probably like a one-off for them.
The basic thing you have to do against the Ravens, force them to pass and try to use their weapons downfield, get them behind. Because if you can do that, then it takes Derrick Henry a little bit out of the game. But if you get them with momentum coming out of the gate, getting a long touchdown run on the first play.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Four games into the NFL season, and boy, we already have some shakeups that are about to happen throughout the National Football League. It's Donnie right side of Stubbs Anderson. Let's get to some hot NFL topics, and we'll get to a tweet that was sent out yesterday at 4:13 p.m. Eastern by Ian Rappaport, and it stated, the Raiders star Davante Adams informed the team that he preferred to be traded, per me and at Mike Garofolo. There's nothing imminent, but a situation to watch for sure. About a half hour later, how about this one? Adam Schefter tweets out, according to ESPN sources, the Raiders have informed other teams that they would consider trading Davante Adams for a package that would include a second-round pick and additional compensation. So what it looks like is happening now is Davante Adams finally said, you know what? I'd be okay with leaving. And the Raiders are saying, okay, let's see if we can find a trade partner and match up the compensation. But let's set the table for this here, Dubbsy. As we started talking about this in the 7 and 7 to start the show, this is a big topic. This is an awesome wide receiver, top 5 in the NFL, who could change the balance of power to the team he goes to, whatever division and conference he winds up in. The Raiders are 2-2 on the season. The Raiders originally brought Davante Adams in as a star wide receiver to pair up with Derek Carr and have with Brandon Jacobs and Josh McDaniels as a head coach, and it hasn't worked out. Looks like all three of those guys will be gone, and the Raiders will be left to rebuilding again. So let's start initially here. The 2-2 Raiders here already looking to trade their best offensive weapon. First of all, Dubbsy, do we agree with this move? Is it the right thing to do?
Look, I mean, as a fan, Donnie, as a teammate of Davante Adams, I'd be saying no. Like, you want to keep him in the building, you want to keep him on the Raiders, but it's just not going to work out. We've seen it time and time again. Once the head coach is having social media, interactions, like and post, and say Davante Adams should be traded away from the Raiders, I just don't see how we get to a good outcome from this scenario. For Davante Adams, still 31 years of age. He's pretty affordable for a lot of teams out there on the market looking for a star wide receiver. Top 5, top 10 certainly in the league right now. So, look, as a fan, as a teammate, I would say no. But for Antonio Pierce, he's got that hard-nosed approach in the locker room. You're either buying in, you're here for the long term and trying to figure this thing out, or see you later, we're going to move on. You've still got Brock Bowers. Maybe you can build around Brock Bowers in the upside he's shown so far, but I don't think it's a great sign. I don't think Davante Adams is going to be there a little further into the season. So it'd be a massive loss for Las Vegas. They brought him there and trying to turn things around, and the numbers obviously haven't been so good with Gardner Minshew there at quarterback. He's never really had that chance to put up the numbers that we saw at Green Bay with the likes of Aaron Rodgers. So it's not a good sign in Sin City, but I certainly think the run at the blackjack table could be done.
It's crazy. The way it works out, too, in the NFL is, again, they're 2-2. They're not 0-4 at this point, but it also looks like a complete rebuild might be on deck for the Raiders. And the one thing as a professional athlete, you understand this. Like, Davante Adams is in his 30s. And also, he is owed like let's just say $30+ million per year on that contract moving forward. No guarantees. So the tough part sometimes, Dubbsy, is not actually acquiring that athlete. When you acquire him, you're going to have to restructure and pay him out that contract. So it's almost a double whammy. They're looking at that second-round pick and saying, all right, well, that's good compensation for the team giving up, and you're willing to do that for a dominant wideout, but also the money on the back end and who can actually afford that here. So if the Raiders do move on, they'll be looking for a future quarterback, a future wide receiver, who knows, maybe even a future head coach here at this point, right? But now, as we say, where are the landing spots here that the Raiders can actually make this move? I want to start with this one spot because it seems too easy. It would be the Kansas City Chiefs. They're looking for a wide receiver. They're injured at wide receiver, but always it's a division rival. You never want to help out a division rival unless you feel the athlete you're sending to that division rival is absolutely cooked and it's just going to mess with that team once he gets there. I don't think anybody thinks Davante Adams is cooked. So what do you think about the Raiders making a move to trade him division rival Kansas City? I don't see it happening. Do you?
No, I don't, Donnie. I'd stay well clear of that one. I mean, you want to pair Davante Adams up with Patrick Mahomes, the best quarterback of our generation. We know how that one is going to work out, and the Raiders will be playing catch-up. They'll be rebuilding for the next 5-10 years and trying to figure out how they can stop the Kansas City Chiefs. I don't like that spot. I was thinking maybe the Jets there, a little reunion with former quarterback Aaron Rodgers. There was, I guess, the 1-2 punch over there at Green Bay at the Jets. It'd be nice surroundings. But, I mean, other teams in the mix, Donnie, what about a shot like the Cowboys? A little 1-2 punch with CeeDee Lamb. What about the Commanders, who are suddenly looking fantastic from what we've seen the last 3 weeks with Jaden Daniels at quarterback? I think there's a lot of great potential suitors out there where Davante Adams could go out of division but still land on a team, a roster that's vying for playoff football, if you will, who could absolutely make a run. So I think there's a good handful of teams that obviously would sign up to get his signature, and I think Davante Adams would be happy to go to and actually contend. He's not contending at the Raiders. The record's 2-2. This is not a playoff football team. We've seen enough.
Yeah, we're not buying into the 2-2 is what Dubbsy's saying there, and I completely agree with them. They might get a couple wins on the season, but I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. So if you do have a player, also, how long do you want to keep said player in the building when you know he wants out, the organization wants to get you out at this point? It's only a formality. I'm just wondering how quickly this is going to happen. If we are looking at the Davante Adams player card here too, 3 games, 18 catches, 209 receiving yards, and 1 touchdown. Obviously, he doesn't have the best quarterback. Gardner Minshew's okay. Imagine pairing him up with a superstar. But also, Dubbsy, that brings up the point on what the Raiders are actually going to do the rest of the season. Win total sitting at 6.5. Playoffs at a plus 285 price. The AFC West title, 19-1. And then if you want to win the AFC title itself here, not just the West, that's a 70-1 price. So if they do move on from Davante Adams, what's the point of even getting to a win total of 7? You might as well lose as much as you can to get a superstar quarterback. Could it be Cam Ward? Could it be Jackson Dart next year in that NFL draft? It's a tough season, and as rightly called, Lost Vegas. It appears they're lost right now, even in the standings.
They are lost. They're looking for that hotel room at 4 a.m. And for Davante Adams, I don't think he's going to find it. You look at the schedule, they square off with the Denver Broncos, who are certainly looking like one of the toughest outs over the last couple of weeks. It doesn't get easier. You've got the Steelers after that, the Rams, Kansas City. So for the Raiders, long and testing season. That win total, I would be staying well clear of that. Davante Adams will not be in that Raiders uniform come, I'd say, week 6, week 7? I'll take the unders on that, Donnie.
I'll tell you where he won't be also, in New Orleans back with Derek Carr, because the simple fact of the matter is they're like $90 million over the cap for next year. More NFL talk and hot topics next. Justin Fields, is he staying in there with Pittsburgh? Russell Wilson, anybody?
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in the set than I do for this year. I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all long. What in the world is going on in Miami, Dom?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take.
I think this line is asking you once again to take New Orleans.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Simply put, the only way to bet this is over under win total. I love Tyronn Lue. I think he's one of the 5 best coaches in the league. But my dear friend George Sorless told us to me a long time ago, you can't win if you don't got the talent. Unfortunately, I don't think the Clippers have the talent to match up.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the book.
Would it make you feel better as a bettor or as a sports fan if they said after the game we were trying to cover the spread?
Oh, God. To say it out loud? Oh my God,
no.
no.
So what?
To say it out loud? Oh my God, you can't say that out loud. No, you can't even. You can't do that.
Okay, so what is the big deal? Either way.
Oh, play the game the right way.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
Sunday Night Football, not really much of a matchup here. And the Bills looked so good up until this point. And, to me, it's probably like a one-off for them.
The basic thing you have to do against the Ravens, force them to pass and try to use their weapons downfield, get them behind. Because if you can do that, then it takes Derrick Henry a little bit out of the game. But if you get them with momentum coming out of the gate, getting a long touchdown run to the first play.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
News and notes continue around the NFL on this Hump Day Wednesday, getting ready for this weekend. And the question that's always been in Pittsburgh, not really on the minds of the fans per se, but their head coach Mike Tomlin is, hey, Justin Fields looks good. Is he going to get a chance to start? No, it's always going to be Russell Wilson. Then Russell Wilson gets injured late in training camp. And it turns out Justin Fields looks like he's getting better every single week. Now, the Steelers did lose their past game, but it wasn't really because of Fields. Yes, there were some turnovers on fumbles, 10 carries for 55 yards and 2 touchdowns, throwing for over 300 yards. Tweet comes out yesterday, which was Mike Garafolo's original tweet, and says Steelers coach Mike Tomlin says Russell Wilson will have another strong workday and his participation is going to pick up some. More work this week than last week, and we'll see how it goes. But it's still Justin Fields' job for now. And Ian Rappaport quote tweeted that saying, Russell Wilson, if all goes well, will likely end the week as a full participant, and Justin Fields will continue to start. So let's start with this hot topic right now, which I agree with. Justin Fields is playing good football. In the first 3 weeks of the season, he wasn't necessarily winning games, Dubbsy, for the Pittsburgh Steelers all by himself. The defense was phenomenal, but he wasn't hurting the team and they were winning. So he got into a situation against Indianapolis where he played very well on offense and the defense actually let the team down. I agree to continue to start Justin Fields in Pittsburgh over Russell Wilson. What do you say?
Absolutely. And, how many different ways can Mike Tomlin say, we're sticking with Justin Fields? Until we've seen enough to bench him, he's our guy. And why wouldn't he be? He does everything Russell Wilson can do, but he's faster with a better arm, and he's 10 years younger. And you've got to imagine the locker room enjoy playing alongside the young fella in Justin Fields, trying to get him downfield. You don't have to put up with everything else that comes with Danger Russ cooking up there in the clubhouse. For Justin Fields, I think he's been fantastic, and the big standout to me is getting rid of the turnovers. Just one interception through the first 4 weeks. I know he's not putting up monster passing yards, but I think he's playing some really efficient football, and that's all you need for a quarterback for Mike Tomlin and the Steelers. You just got to do enough to outscore him in a low-scoring arm wrestle kind of matchup, and I think he's suddenly got the DNA of Steelers football, and I think he's looked really good. He's only building confidence and momentum with that pass game. So for the Steelers to have the best chance of winning week in, week out, how could it not be Justin Fields? I do not see a world in which Russell Wilson would come in and they would see positive improvement at the quarterback position, with the run game, with the pass game, the decision-making. It's looked slow, it's looked off through the last couple of years. The best years for Russell Wilson are well and truly done. They're still back up there in Seattle. We didn't see it in Denver. We're not going to see it in Pittsburgh. Justin Fields, he has found his spot. He is the fix for Pittsburgh moving forward.
Yeah, we'll see if somebody comes calling for maybe that backup quarterback situation in Pittsburgh as it plays out. But the AFC North, the Pittsburgh Steelers hit at 3-1, Dubs. You know what that means? They're in first place with Justin Fields, and they got an awesome game set up for Sunday Night Football in Pittsburgh as the Dallas Cowboys come to town, as the Pittsburgh Steelers are a slight favorite there. If he can win that game, maybe he's even more entrenched, Dubsy, as the starter for the rest of the season for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Let's continue to move to some hot quarterbacking topics throughout the NFL. And hot, to say the least, maybe hot garbage. That's what we found out from the Miami Dolphins over the past couple weeks without Tua Tagovailoa, as Snoop Huntley played on Monday Night Football against a terrible Titans team, and he looked pathetic. But, as Adam Schefter is reporting, Dolphins head coach Mike McDaniel announced that Tyler Snoop Huntley will start again Sunday when Miami plays New England. Without looking at the total of that football game, I wouldn't put it any more than 13.5. Snoop Huntley stays in there, and the Miami Dolphins, where are we going in this season?
96 passing yards, 40 rushing. He was He was going against the Titans on Monday Night Football. Donnie, this is not hyperbole. The Miami Dolphins could be the worst team in the NFL. Yeah. If you had asked me 4 weeks ago, who's going to be your price play to win the Super Bowl? It's Tua, it's Tyreek, it's Waddle, it's Mike McDaniel, who tells us he's the smartest guy with a clipboard stand there on the sidelines. They look like a shadow of what we've expected. I know the quarterback play certainly doesn't help the case there, but you've got to figure something out, or it is going to be a little too late, a little too early. At 1-3, I still don't like their chances going against the Patriots here in Week 5. So for Snoop Huntley, I know he's a dual threat, but it seems to be the one-trick pony. We've got the run game getting it downfield, cannot unlock those high-powered offensive weapons. And we saw them getting a little testy on Monday night as well. Tyreek Hill did not look happy. He was throwing the helmet. He was voicing his concerns behind the head coach there over next to the Gatorade cooler. So things are not looking so swell over there in South Beach.
Yeah, they had one play on Monday night where it's like, okay, Tyreek, just run as fast as you can down the field and I'll hit you deep. He had like an 8-yard lead over the cornerback and still got airmailed. So I would be upset as well. Tyreek Hill's used to having 1,500, 1,600, 1,700 yards, double-digit touchdowns. And it's going to be a far cry this year until Tua Tagovailoa gets back. But when Tua gets back, if he does, is the season too far gone at this point? My goodness, who knows? Miami's in trouble at the quarterback position. It's Dubbs and Donnie on a Wednesday. Hour number 2 is up next. More exciting topics on the way.